Welcome. Joe Volpe, publisher of the Corriere Canadese, North America's only Italian-language daily newspaper, on behalf of Go Live TV and Corriere Media Group, to give you the comment of the day. And of course, the comment of the day has everything to do with City Hall, Queen's Park, and the courts, and our democratic principles. So our comment is, our democratic underpinnings, have they been reduced to this? Anger sells. In politics, it seems to be overtaking sex and related issues as the prime electoral strategy for motivating voter intentions. Ideological reasoning has gone out the window. No, make that simply, reason has gone out the window. People are angry, and they're not going to take it anymore. But they're angry with whom? About what? Why? And what will they do about it? If they're told often enough, eventually they'll believe they're hard done by and take to the streets. The results of the last Ontario provincial election can arguably be attributed to people being so angry at and fed up with Kathleen Wynne that a dead donkey could have beaten her in a race. Yet from an economic perspective, workers and businesses never had it so good. A booming economy, unemployment rates at quasi-historical lows, and salaries on the rise. The public punished her for this success by destroying her party while re-electing her to witness from within the legislature the political carnage she had induced by her obstinacy to stay in office. On the other side of the aisle, Doug Ford rose to the top by campaigning against the rot and corruption, those are his words, from within his own party. Somehow, the public gave a rotten and corrupt party the keys to government at Queen's Park. He would put money in their pocket, was the winning slogan. Along the way, he would make cuts and drive efficiencies, he promised. But with so much rot and corruption, where to start? Well, Toronto City Council, of course. Cut down its current member of councillors from 44 to 25. One needs a convenient punching bag. And everybody hates Toronto anyway. What's unclear is how forced savings at City Hall could translate into net savings for the taxpayers in Ontario. They are, after all, two separate jurisdictions, even if Toronto, the municipality, is a child of the province, and the parent has the right to make decisions for the child. Municipalities can never become standalone, in the constitutional context, recognized as mature entities, remaining perennially dependent. City Hall challenged the decision in the courts. Unfair, it claimed. Justice Bilubaba, reputedly an old friend of a former Conservative Premier Bill Davis, seemed to agree. Only because, in his view, the rules of the game had been changed in midstream. His view of the charter infringement is fashioned by timing. Candidate registration had closed on Friday, July 27th. On Monday, July 30th, Premier Ford, very aware of the realities of June the 7th, in other words, his electoral majority, introduced cuts via Bill 5 that declared the old boundaries null and void while extending the registration period for candidates under the new configuration. Justice Bilubaba declared Bill 5 violated the Charter and threw it out. Premier Ford filed an appeal and invoked the notwithstanding clause for good measure. The political environment has become a charade of buffoonery and theatrics ever since. Overnight sittings of the legislature, appeals and counter-appeals in the courts, suspension of the legislature sittings in order to attend a very important tractor pull. Counter-appeals and interventions by political personalities with their own opinions and admonitions. with no discernible outcome. If there were ever an exercise in futility, then the letter signed by Toronto's 25 members of Parliament, including all the cabinet ministers from the city, must surely reign supreme. They cautioned their provincial counterparts to withdraw their support for Bill 5, now 31, in the legislature. Can you imagine that? Poorly considered, it was rebuffed with a symbolic slap in the face for those considered by many to have no clout in Ottawa, and therefore much less in Ontario. Not surprisingly, the tactic rebounded on their own leader, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. When it was suggested that he invoke the federal set-aside constitutional authority against the autocratic measures by Premier Ford, he responded with a deferential no thanks. And his members of Parliament were left holding the bag. Ford will get his way. After the tractor pull, Toronto will transfer whatever savings accrue from the redrawings of the electoral map to Queen's Park. Somehow, I think it'll be difficult to follow the paper trail to see if that actually happens. For Corriere Canadese, Go Live TV, and the Corriere Media Group, this is Joe Volpe bidding you thank you and to follow us on social media and to stay tuned for our comment in Italian and subsequently in Portuguese. Thank you.